Welcome to our podcast where we look for opportunities in our lives to see a beautiful view. I'm Candy.
And I'm Paul. Please consider becoming one of our podcast members on Patreon. This platform helps us keep the episodes coming and cover our costs. It really makes a big difference for us as content creators and provides a way for you to show your appreciation for content you love to watch or listen to. Memberships are only $5 a month, and the link is in our show notes. It's also on our social media accounts.
Yeah, and as a member, we'll send you a beautiful view sticker.
Yep.
You'll get a shout out on the show, receive an encouraging weekly newsletter, and from time to time, we provide exclusive content for our members.
Yes, we look forward to sharing with you today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful view.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. Oh, I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going to. Well, I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you.
Hello again.
Hi.
Today we are once again recording from my parents' backyard in San Angelo, Texas.
Yes, we are.
And it is hot. It is
Very
still
hot.
hot. Goodness, I am just not cut out for these Texas summers anymore.
No.
And to be clear, it has been summer since I arrived in April.
Yeah, probably before that. But
Probably.
yeah, I meant to mention this in the last episode, but every time we record here in the RV in your parents' backyard, every AC in this little unit is running
Cranking.
as fast as it possibly can. So if you hear any background noise, it's a combination of two rooftop AC units, a portable AC unit in the room just behind me over here,
And a box fan.
and a box fan just to kind of circulate everything. And it's still, like right now, it's
not too bad.
Not too bad. It's showing 91 outside and 76 in here. So reasonably comfortable.
I think it's supposed to be 104 today, so that'll mean it'll be about 84 in here this afternoon.
Yuck, but that's the way this is.
Yeah.
So, it's been somewhat of a struggle to acclimatize.
Yeah, you've got to spend a lot of time in the heat these last couple of weeks, haven't you?
I've been updating my farmer's tan here. And we when on our drive down, fortunately, like we mentioned last time, we were driving down in the middle of those storms.
Yes.
Which was great because our truck's air conditioning kind of gave out about a year ago, which was not such a big deal because we're in Iowa. And,
there we don't really drive it a whole lot or for very far, and it's not that hot.
So we can opt to use the car that does have AC, or wind the windows down, and it's just fine. But this time, so when we drove down, the temperatures were reasonable, but we had to drive down with all the windows open. So driving at like 65 miles an hour with the wind blowing past your ear, like when we got here, we couldn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
So your daddy was saying, huh, to us, and we were saying, huh, to him. But yeah, it's so when we got here, your brother very kindly helped me get a complete new air conditioning system in the truck.
Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, Cody. And thank you, Aaron, for your technical expertise during the whole thing and moral support.
Yes.
So we got that done. But yes, it meant that I basically had to take a lot of the engine apart on the truck in your mom and dad's garage.
And it was like 105 outside, so in the garage.
It was hot.
It was hot.
It was really hot. So lots of water, lots of Gatorades, and we got through the thing. And now we have AC.
To go back.
So we're going to be nice and chilly.
And by the time this episode airs,
yes,
you and Tyler and Emily will all be back in Iowa.
We will, yes. we're heading back there. Tyler is going to scout camp. Mm-hmm. So first of all, 4th of July celebrations. Heritage Days is a big deal in Bellevue, Iowa.
It is, yes.
And so we'll be roaming around, and they have lots to do at the park. Generally, families that have moved out of Bellevue but still have other family members in Bellevue come back.
It's kind of family reunion time for a lot of people.
It really is.
Yeah.
So it's a great atmosphere in town, so we're looking forward to that. And then right after that, we go to scout camp for a week.
Yeah.
So that's just a great experience every time. And then at some point, I guess I'll be turning around and heading back here again.
Yeah, because I'm going to be staying here for a few more weeks to kind of wrap up some things here. So
yes,
it's been really nice to have my family back together the last couple of weeks. Emily flew in to join us, and in our last episode, we mentioned that my mom had been diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
And she was home on hospice care. Well, she took her last earthly breath on Sunday, June 16th.
Yeah.
And she passed peacefully, surrounded by my daddy, my 3 siblings, and myself.
Yes.
So that was pretty tough. So,
It was very tough.
Yeah.
And it was just 3 days after we recorded our last episode. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, it's rocked our world a little bit. So for the first time in our little podcast history, we skipped an episode just to take time with family. Honestly, we love doing this, but it takes our full attention. And so we just felt like it was best for us to take a break for a while. Mm-hmm. But we want to thank you for your patience with us, and thank you so much for all the kind words of support that we've received, for your encouragement, for your sympathies. It's been an amazing just outpouring of love on our family, from members of the community, neighbors around here. There's been a constant, massive flow of food.
Yes, so
coming
much
here.
food. Oh my
food,
goodness.
flowers,
Yes.
hugs, lots of hugs.
Yes.
It's been a good time.
We felt very loved.
Yes, we did.
Since we're still sitting in my parents' backyard for right now, we needed something very lighthearted.
Yes, yeah, we did.
So we thought it would be fun to do a little throwback and tell the story of when my British guy moved to Texas to meet and marry me.
Yes, yes. It was definitely a big transition for little old me. There were things to adapt to, and there were big cultural differences between England and Texas.
And you couldn't have picked a more stereotypical West Texas family to marry into. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it will.
If you know us or have been listening to our podcast for a while, then you probably know that Paul and I met in an MSN chat room way back in the world of dial-up internet connection.
Yes,
so
we did.
I guess you could say we were kind of pioneers in the online dating scene.
Yes, and now we have been married for 22 years. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say the rest is history.
Yes, but the history holds some fun stories. So let's take a little walk down memory lane and revisit those early days when you first came to Texas to meet me in person.
Oh, my. So it was Cinco de Mayo, 2001. Mm-hmm. So that's a very easy day for us to remember every year.
Yes.
And I had never flown on a plane before.
You had not.
Just like we talked about Emily taking her first plane flight. Except I was, 2001... I was 30, and I had never, really not traveled all that much at all.
And you chose an international flight for your first flight ever.
It was kind of a crazy thing to do. So in England, and now, like by comparison, Texas is massive compared to England. But in England, I had never really traveled any further north than Birmingham, which is like halfway up England. And so like you draw a line across there and then come down south, that just the southern part of England and some of Wales. Basically I had never traveled more than about a 6 or 7 hour drive away.
That's crazy to me because in Texas it takes 6 or 7 hours to get anywhere.
Right. Oh yeah. To get to the grocery store, right?
Just about.
So I just wanted to have this big adventure, and at that point, I was pretty set in my mind that I wanted to pursue you no matter what it took. And so I got my plane ticket, and I was really excited, and made my way to London, which was about 4 or 5 hour drive away, 5 hours.
So
maybe.
let's clarify and back up a little bit. We
Sure.
had been talking online for about a year at this
Yes.
point, right? So
Yeah, a little over a year.
online, and then that progressed to the phone,
On the
phone
phone.
calls.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we had been kind of getting to know each other over long distance for about a year by
Yeah.
this point. So
Yes, we had. So it wasn't like, I got Candy's profile and immediately jumped on a plane without her knowing who the heck I was. So no, we had become good friends.
Yes.
And that's just the real benefit of, there's obviously a lot of negatives to online dating as well.
Sure, yes,
But at that point for us, we just had communication via the MSN chat and phone conversations, and so we really did get to know each other well.
We did, yes. And thankfully, both of us were honest. That's a
were.
big part of it, too. So
I can't keep a secret or anything, so I was very honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you arrived there in the Midland airport,
Yeah.
I drove about 2 hours from San Angelo to Midland to
Yes.
pick you up at the airport.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first thoughts were when you first got off that airplane?
Well, those were the days before 9/11 when you could walk right up to the plane,
Yes.
which was a big shock to me. I thought that I at least had an opportunity to get off the plane, find my bag, and then go to wherever you were at. So I thought I had like at least 15, 20 minutes to kind of compose myself. And
Surprise!
and walk off the plane, and there you are, like standing right there with a big smile on your face. And I'm like, wow. So, adrenaline kicks in, and I'm like, okay, this is real. This is very, very real. So I had actually flown through Houston on the way to Midland.
Yeah, and I think your flight was delayed by a little bit because you didn't get in till late. It was like 9:20 p.m. or something like that.
At the time, Houston Airport was under construction.
It probably still is.
And it was, so, for someone who's never flown before, after you've flown multiple times, you kind of learn to expect anything.
Yeah.
As Emily found out.
Yes, of course.
But I got to Houston, and of course it's a massive airport. And they said they told us on the plane that they're not going to handle our baggage, so we have to take it ourselves. So we get off the plane, and they had some kind of temporary conveyor to bring our bags up from the plane. We had to grab all our luggage.
Yeah.
And then make our way across the airport to the gate where I was catching the plane to Midland. So we make our way, my fellow passengers and I, and there were these. There's one section, and if you've been through Houston, you might know what I'm talking about. But there's a section where there's this long, wide hallway with like little trams, like inside these trams that go with a wall beside them. So I'm watching them all cramming on this little tram thing. And I'm like, I'm not going on there. So I start like running down the middle, down this hallway, and the tram goes past me. Once they eventually squeezed everybody on board, it goes past me and then just comes to a dead stop. Like the thing just switched off. Someone threw a breaker, or who knows what happened. So then the passengers inside are prying the doors open
Oh my gosh.
and throwing their bags over this wall and like climbing over this wall to where I was at. So I was, and I just had a hunch and I didn't get on it. So that was crazy. And then I'm in Houston, and of course, like for me, I'm always hearing the English accent wherever you go.
Yes.
And then suddenly, like I've got like people out of the Dukes of Hazzard, the A-Team. are now announcers in Houston Airport. Like they're actually the ones telling me what to do. And so that was wild. But of course, like the whole time I'm in a hurry, so I'm focused on getting to the gate, and get to the gate, pass off the bags, and get in. When I land in Midland and we met for the first time, I mean, like, what was I've got this memory like etched in my brain of seeing you for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I remember what you were wearing, what you looked like. So from your perspective, what did you see?
Oh, you're going to turn this on me?
I am, yes.
Well, what did I see? I saw a little British guy that looked very lost.
Confused.
He needed a haircut and needed to go shopping.
I did need to go shopping for some clothes. And I wandered off that plane, and we, I mean, immediately we're holding hands and stuff. It was cute.
It was a very sweet moment.
It was. And then we went and got my bags. We walk outside the terminal to find your car. By that time, it's dark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was nighttime.
And close to 100 degrees.
It was.
I couldn't fathom how you could achieve those temperatures without the sun.
Right.
It was...
Welcome to Texas.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, it's, and I'm sure that you noticed as you were, well, I don't know if you could see or not when you were flying over that first time. Was it too dark to see all of the squares and the pump jacks and everything on the landscape?
Into Houston, of course, and then you got the big city as well. But flying into Midland, the plane kind of takes a route over the oil fields, so there's not like a lot of anything out there except for pump jacks.
Yeah.
So as we're approaching Midland Airport, you come in between Midland and Odessa, which is kind of built up now, but wasn't, 22 years ago or 23 years ago. And so I'm seeing all that coming in. I'm like, does anybody live here? Like, I was expecting to step off the plane and there'd be like, like a team of horses there. I mean, I'm like, there's no houses or anything. There's just dirt and pump jacks.
Yep.
Kind of crazy.
That's true. So let's not forget, you came over here for 3 weeks.
Yes.
This was either going to be really good or really not.
I was highly optimistic.
You were.
Yes.
Why in the world did you decide to come for 3 weeks to a country you had never been to meet a girl that you barely knew?
Why not? I mean, I felt like I knew you really well.
Okay.
And I just kind of knew that I needed to be with you for a period of time where we could really get to know each other. And I knew that if I'd have booked like a week,
it wouldn't have been long enough.
It wouldn't have been long enough.
Okay. I
just really had no doubts. I seriously had no doubts. I knew that we would be great together. And so you just
went for it.
I was all in.
You were.
I was all in and very, very confident of the outcome.
You were.
Yes.
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 So thankfully, we had a really great time together. And the 3 weeks flew by really, really quickly.
It did, yeah.
By the end of that visit, we were both convinced that we were supposed to be together forever. Some of us took a little bit longer to convince than others. No names.
I can remember when we were walking down at the Riverwalk in San Angelo. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, what do we do now?
What next? Yeah.
So we were talking about, the trip, my flight back. Mm-hmm. And so what are you going to go back to and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there was a lot of things on my mind. It wasn't like it was all plain sailing and all that kind of stuff. There were a lot of factors, some serious decisions that I had to make.
Of course.
And that would change the lives of several people that, family members and so on back in England. So I knew that. Mm-hmm. I knew it wasn't going to be all like just easy and everybody was going to be for it. I knew that it was going to be controversial. I mean, even you, like you.
Oh yes.
I mean, people like when you started telling them that you basically found this guy in England.
Oh yeah,
on the internet?
I had a lot of people. There were several people that said, "Oh, he's just coming for his green card."
Yeah, I just like I just wanted a
I don't think they realized how
green
much
card.
work it actually is to get a green card.
No, it's
Anyway,
it's not like England's a third world country.
No.
And I was, I mean, it wasn't for that. And I don't think a lot of people really understood.
No,
and they were
they
they were protective of you and
They
loved
were,
you, and they
yeah.
were just concerned about you.
that's true.
And
As they probably should
as
have
they
been.
probably should have been. So yeah, but I had an enormous amount of confidence that it would go well. So we had that walk down the river walk, and we just basically were like, okay, so what's next? We talked about the possibility of getting married. I mean, which was kind of crazy after 3 weeks of being together. But it really, I
I don't know at that point that
No.
I was fully on board with
I was
that quite
running-
yet.
I
You were
was
running that
fast.
conversation.
I was running fast.
And I was like, whoa, slow down a little bit. At the time, I was what, 22?
Yeah, you were.
I was 22
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah,
I was
and
a baby.
I was not quite 30. I was
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
And so there's the age difference,
Mm-hmm.
which I obviously I wasn't concerned about that at all.
Obviously.
But no, we were just like, what's the next step? We
Yeah.
want to be together. This has been really nice, but it's not like we're just scheduling our next date.
Right. Yeah. So, and there were a lot of like complicated things to figure out because there was definitely a right way to go about it and a wrong way to go
yeah.
about it. So,
Yeah, and I mean, if you start down a path and you're doing it the wrong way, then it's hard to roll that back. So we really
yeah.
were aware of the implications.
yeah.
But yeah, we just press forward. So
I did. So,
yeah.
you flew back to England. And then that's when all of the research started on like how
What does this mean?
How that works. How does the immigration stuff work? How do we
Right.
get married and it be the right way around and all
Yeah.
that? And the 90-day fiance visa is really a real thing.
yeah, it's an actual thing.
So we did that. And so you immigrated to Texas.
Yes.
We were married on February 23rd of 2002.
Yes.
9 months after that initial meetup in person
And it wasn't until I was looking through the notes for this episode that I
that you
realized.
realized how short a time that was.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I by the time we got to it, I was so excited and
You
so
were.
ready. And actually,
Yeah.
I think I said my vows faster than the pastor could
Oh,
say them, and I was talking over the top of him.
While you were cleaning up in the house, you found our album, our wedding album,
Yes,
and
I did.
there's a picture in there of you getting ready for the wedding, and you have the biggest, goofiest grin on your face. It was great.
Let's talk about some of the things that a British guy has to adapt to when he moves to West Texas.
Well, okay, so for starters, so I like to try and simplify things in life. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to America. There's not language differences.
Sure. It's all English, right?
It's all exactly the same. And in England at the time, there was a lot of American TV shows
Yeah.
that was being piped into us. So
Sure.
when I talk about Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team, Knight Rider, Chips, all of those things, it was like there was a steady diet of American culture on the TV all the
Right,
time.
yeah.
And so as I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, movies, of course. So I just thought this isn't any big deal at all.
Yeah.
Not realizing that even for like an Iowan coming to Texas, it's a lot.
It's a
So for a British guy to come to Texas, it's a big deal. So when I first got here, I just thought I'd step right into it, and it would just be exciting and fun and all that kind of stuff. And
big adventure.
And then I was hearing myself talking to Texans And I'm like, oh my gosh, you couldn't be more of an outsider right here. So it was very, very different. Just some little things. In Texas, everybody drives everywhere. Like even if you're just going to the store.
Well, everything is so spread out. So
the lack of sidewalks was a big deal for me. I'm like, so how do you just walk from your apartment to where you work? And the answer is you have to walk on the road.
yeah. Well, you really don't walk.
No, you
one
don't
really walks.
walk.
But
But
if you wanted to, yeah.
I mean, I did. I had to like that. You were working still,
Right.
so I was walking to the salon the same way as I would walk anywhere in England. But like I'm like walking
on
into
main roads.
into traffic. So, but yeah.
So how about traditions? What things do we do here that were very, very different from what you were used to?
Okay, so
Because we have a lot of traditions in our family
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, so family traditions. I mean, there were some things I loved.
Yeah.
The fact that here everybody wants to get together and spend time with each other. Not that that doesn't happen in England, but here it's like a real thing.
Yeah.
And when someone's going to come visit with you, doesn't matter if you've seen them like yesterday or for 2 years ago. Big hugs. Everybody is like very outgoing and very expressive
Yes.
in every
Every
sense
way.
of the word.
Yes. They love big.
They love big.
They do
Everything
life
is
big.
big. Everything's big.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yes, it is. And so one of the sayings that you get used to very quickly is get you a plate. Go get you a plate.
There's more.
There's more. Go get you another round. There's still more up there. Like over and over. And it's like, I'm full. And it's kind of like the get you another plate has to happen 3 times. And you have to say, I'm full 3 times, more and more expressively before you finally get let off the hook. So that's kind of the way with that. So when I came over to Texas and we first met, I weighed 154 pounds.
You were tiny, but I think I was tiny back then too.
We
I
were-
think I actually weighed less than you did at that time, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, times they are changing.
Well, we're just happy.
I remember the first time your mom and daddy took us to Western Skies Steakhouse
Oh, yeah.
on Chadburn, which is a very nice landmark. If ever you come over to West Texas, you have to make it there, as well as Henry's. Henry's another one. So anyway, so I first got there, and so they bring out the salad, and by salad, like you're all thinking like green, leafy stuff. I mean, I'm talking about like,
It's a whole plate of
cheese and all kinds of things.
bacon bits.
Like there's almost as many calories in the salad as there is in the main dish. And then
It's not a lie.
so then I'm like, oh, this is really nice. This is really cool. So I start eating that, and then they plop down the dinner steak in front of you, and I think the dinner steak weighed as much as I did.
You're not wrong.
So I'm like, how on earth? So I think it took me probably 8 to 10 times of going to Western Skies before I trained enough to be able to consume a whole dinner steak.
You decided to skip the salad. That was the best way.
Don't get distracted by the salad. Anything on the side, the loaded baked potato, like, that has to be optional.
Yeah.
You need to get into that dinner steak and consume that thing before you get into anything else.
It's a Texas way.
It is the Texas way. And we talked a bit about differences in traditions. So to demonstrate the first one, Thanksgiving,
Oh, yes.
later on you came back over to England and spent some time with me, and you're like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, we should do something special.
yeah.
And you were tagging along with me on a work trip, and I'm like, well, let's go get Burger King, I guess. Although I don't think I said it quite that way.
No.
Let's go get some Burger King.
Yeah, it was more like that. Burger King.
So we went into Burger King, and you had Thanksgiving dinner at Burger King.
Did I complain?
You did not.
I did not.
You did not, even though it was a pitiful Thanksgiving meal. Anyway,
We've made up for it since then.
We have made up for it since then. So that was a deal, and oh man, like in Texas, and I think this is the way in most households in Texas. Get ready for the canned pumpkin and marshmallows in savory dishes. I mean, marshmallows are no good in sweet dishes, let alone savory dishes.
Hey, speak for yourself.
I will.
Some of us like marshmallows.
This is my humble opinion.
Yeah.
As the British guy in Texas, and so we tweaked over the years. So there's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Then the most interesting, especially if you work at a church like I did pretty soon after I moved over here, and we got married, is 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
Where we celebrate the eviction of the redcoats from this colony over here, and so.
That was kind of awkward the first couple of years, wasn't it?
Well, you just kind of have to make a joke out of it because everybody and like Texans kind of like the funny side of that.
Oh yeah.
So I remember pretty early on. I think you got me the tie. Did you not get me the tie?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I found. I think it was an eBay find or something. I found a tie that had both the American flag and the Union Jack on it.
I don't know how you found that. Which, I mean, it just looked like a battle going on my tie.
It was awesome.
So, and then I was always the one that, had to hang the flag.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like really like trying to be careful about how to hang the flag on the stage or where to place the flag on the stage for 4th of July.
Of course. Yeah.
And because I'm already nervous. For whatever reason, and so anyway, I was often the one that did the most research out of anyone on the way to do it.
Yes,
and I'd be in there and I'd be like, no, guys, it really is this way, and they're like, no, that's not the way.
What does the British guy know?
What do you know about that? And I'm like, I kind of Googled it a lot. Like, I don't want to mess this up. So anyway, that was kind of a couple of those traditions. Of course, Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, Christmas.
And my family has
similar.
always done Christmas really big. Like we have a big family Christmas party every year, and with all my siblings and all the grandkids, everybody. And for the last, I don't know, probably 10 years or so, we have themed them. So there's always some kind of a theme, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so we've done like 1 year everybody came as elves, which was really fun.
Yep.
We've done Hawaiian luau, Christmas luau kind of theme. We've done, we did 1 year, we did a few of my favorite things, and everybody brought a gift.
That was their favorite thing.
That was their favorite thing. And then we drew names. The
I
boys
remember,
drew boy names, the girls drew girl
I think
names.
I think it was my brother-in-law, Ron, who got mine. And all my favorite things were like little things from Harbor Freight. And, and he's like, thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this.
It's always fun. We did a redneck Christmas 1 year.
Yes, we did.
We had the shotgun toilet plunger.
So anything that's related to a formal meal in England is very, not ceremonial, that's too much. It's proper. So, everything's placed in the right place and everything has to be done correctly at the correct time. And Texans are just all in there. Where's the food? Where's more food? Bring it on. Let's have some fun, So, it's a whole different ball game here.
So let's talk about foods.
Yes.
So Texas food is a little different from English food.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I noticed was, first of all, dairy.
Okay, yeah.
I come from an island of green grass and happy cows.
Yeah.
And so, that's something that the dairy tastes very, very different. It's processed differently. Like here in the States, your milk lasts for like a month.
Yeah.
In England, our milk lasts for maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
it's just heavily processed here.
You're right. Right.
I know in Iowa, just before we traveled down here, one of Emily's friends actually got us a bottle of the raw milk from the farm.
Yep.
And that was closer to what I remember. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so dairy's very different, which kind of makes a difference in, the things you're used to. Mm-hmm. Bread is very different.
Mm-hmm. So what about spicy? In Texas, we're a little spicy.
One of our favorite takeaway spots, our fast food place that we love to go to all the time in North Devon, was a Chinese restaurant. Mm-hmm. And one of their spicy dishes, which still, I swear to this day, if I got that, it'd be spicier than anything here in Texas. It was the Szechuan chicken.
Okay.
With the Szechuan pepper, which is really, really hot. Mm-hmm. So I used to enjoy, we'd dare each other as friends to see if we could finish one. Mm-hmm. I could only get halfway through. And then the number one takeout food in England now is Indian curries, which are very, very spicy. Mm-hmm. So I came over here, and honestly, when we went to a Mexican restaurant, I was like, well, this is kind of, like you could put salsa on stuff, and you can spice it up as much as you want. Mm-hmm. A side of jalapenos or whatever.
That you called jalapenos to start with.
Because I knew no different.
Could I have a side of jalapenos, please?
I didn't know. North Devon is about as far removed from the Mexico border as you could possibly imagine. So, moving on.
It was cute.
But the Mexican restaurant, we go there, and it was like, so you get your plate. And for me, as a British person, I'm getting this plate of various different colors of mushy stuff. So there's like, the beans, the refried beans, mushy. The enchiladas and the chili sauce that goes on it is kind of like another thing. And so it was all just like, a puddle of this, a puddle of that, a puddle of that. And I'm like, okay, so what's the big deal about this? But man, it didn't take long before I was fully hooked on all of the above.
And Tex-Mex is very different from any
So
other. We've traveled all over the country, and
can't.
it's really hard to find good
True Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex Mexican food.
There's a whole bunch of variations under the title of Mexican food.
There is, yes.
And we've had really genuine, like, Mexican food. There was one place in Odessa that was just perfect, delicious.
So it
And
was
that
delicious.
was very, very much Mexican food. And then Tex-Mex is another thing. And then, so in Iowa, the Mexican food is just not very spicy.
It's Iowa Mexican food.
It's just it's not all that. So sorry.
It's okay.
But anyway, moving on.
I like to cook too. So
Yeah.
when we want Mexican food in Iowa, I just cook
We
it.
cook it in house. But that was a thing to get used to. Like the foods definitely tasted very different. So I would go and find the equivalent of what I wanted here. Even like candy bars were different.
Yeah.
Milky Ways are, hang on, let me get this right. Mars bars in England are Milky Ways here. And Milky Ways over there are not the same as Milky Ways here. There was a whole bunch of differences. And then Cadbury's chocolate, which is still good here, but it was different. So just some everything had a little sort of like a twist on it. Just, it's what you remember, but Americanized. And so...
Well, I know when I was in England, I bought Dr. Pepper, and that was not Dr. Pepper.
No, and it is not the same, and I much prefer American Dr. Pepper than I do British Dr. Pepper. So,
which originally started in Dublin, Texas.
It really did, just down the road, right? By English standards, probably in the ocean, but just down the road
just
here.
Down the road, right. I've actually been to England twice.
You have, yes.
There are definitely some cultural differences between England and the USA.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I know absolutely what you're talking about.
Right.
But let's talk specifically about differences in cultures between England and West Texas.
Okay.
What were some of the biggest things you noticed in the beginning when you first came over here, culturally different?
So pretty much everything was positive. So in England, there's a lot of like walking around, just, you know, looking at the ground, you know, if you say hi to someone, they're like, what did I do? Do I know you? Like, are you allowed to talk to me? I mean, so here, in Texas, very open conversations, you know, when you're trying to, like, even if it's someone new, if you're in sort of an environment where, you know, you've got something in common, you're instantly trying to sort of find commonalities and things, you know, things that you can talk about, shared experiences and so on. There's like a desire to jump in, to connect.
Yeah.
And in England, it's like you go about your own thing, and then maybe if you do something of interest, then someone might, you know, like ask you a question.
Yeah.
Like a very polite question. But here it's just like, you know, all in, like just go for it. So yeah.
Yeah, everything here, and I know we've talked about this before, but everyone loves big. Like everyone's a hugger.
Yeah,
everyone's
you better be okay with that.
You're gonna know that people love you here. That's
and there's I never had a problem with that. But the norm in England is not to, you know, to keep your distance. And be polite. And my mom did her best to bring me up in that way, and she failed. So I think, you know, that would be true of my brother too. Like we're just out there, and that's just the way we are. I think we picked that up from our dad. Yeah. And because he was kind of that way too, and everybody sort of kind of saw him as the little crazy guy who you kind of avoid at parties because he's gonna be all up in your business. So, but anyway, no, I mean, I definitely fit in very well here in Texas, and I felt that, like, since I've been back. How long have I been here now? I can't remember. 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, right at a month, I think, close to a month.
And I already feel at home, like very comfortable, reestablishing old friendships, making new ones. It's been really, really good.
It comes easy.
Yes, it does.
So would you say that moving from England to Texas was an easy or a difficult transition, and why?
As I said before, I thought I had this all figured out. And that wasn't true. It definitely took some time to acclimatize.
Sure.
You know, I'm really glad that West Texas was my first stop.
Okay.
In the States. You know, and we've toured around the United States and seen a lot of the states. Met a lot of different people. But I'm glad that West Texas was the first stop because your family just welcomed me in with open arms.
Yes, they did.
And, you know, we all have our faults. And so I came with a bunch of them and, you know, they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, look at mine too. You know, mine are just as bad as yours. So I had the accent. Yeah. Still had the same problems. Yeah. So, no, it was really nice, and I really loved being welcomed by your church.
Yeah, that was a big part of it,
That
too.
was a huge part of it, making friends there. And
the church that I grew up in from, I think I was 5 when when my family started going there. So those people were as much family as anybody.
Yes. It was just a really good experience to be a part of your physical family and to be part of the church family too.
My work friends that were family too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Suzanne, Sherry.
At the time I was doing hair at a salon, and those girls were, gosh, I spent more time with them than I did anybody. And
they challenged me.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were a rough and rowdy group of girls that just wanted to tease the heck out of the little English guy in the corner.
They wanted to make sure that their girl was going to be okay, too.
Well, they did. And I think I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think they were okay with me.
They were. They just like to give you a little bit of a hard time.
You know, everybody did. You know, I'd have like Mark at the church. he would just get me to pronounce different things just for the heck of it, just to like,
Some real Texas things like Whataburger.
Yeah. So he'd go, okay, so how do we say Whataburger? So I'd say, Whataburger. How do you say Whataburger? I say, Whataburger. And then they just roll around laughing. They just thought that was great.
Yeah.
After a while, though, like having that kind of attention was like a lot. So I quickly started saying grass instead of grass, and
garage instead of
garage instead of garage, and gas instead of petrol. So it was some. I really wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like. I've started watching this YouTube channel of a fellow Brit who is in the Chicago area. He's trying to fit in, but he just wants to keep the accent and point out the differences. And I'm like, I mean, it's cute and all, but I really want to just.
I kind of miss parts of your accent. Every once in a while, he'll come out with some word that I have never heard before.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world?
And there's quite often times where I'll get like I'll stop before saying a word because I think it's British, only British, and I'm worried that it won't be received in the way that I meant it, and then I'm like, no, it's the same. It's the same here. Don't get caught up on that. So it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's the same language, but it's a different language.
It is different. Yeah. So, is there anything that you miss about England?
Yeah, fish and chips.
Of course.
That's always the answer.
We did pretty successfully recreate them ourselves.
Yeah, not bad.
Time.
Not bad. And I think every time we've tried it, we've either got the chips right or the fish right.
Yeah.
Never both at the same time. And we did. I was telling someone about this the other day. We did go to New York one time, and on in the theater district of Manhattan, there's a little fish and chip shop there that's I hope it's still around, run by a little British guy, and that was real fish and chips.
That was good. Yeah.
That was excellent.
That was authentic.
And oftentimes when I talk to people here about fish and chips, and they're like, well, isn't that just fish and fries? No. So is that fish and steak fries? No. So that it's just like this. I guess it's like the difference between Mexican foods, like Tex-Mex to Mexican in the rest of the U.S. Mm-hmm. There's like just a little bit that just makes it different enough that you're like, oh, I wish I had that back there.
Yeah. No,
so,
I get that.
Okay, so we're here in your mom and dad's backyard.
Yes.
The power's just been out for like 4 hours.
Yes.
So there's 4 hours between before and now. So you'll have to figure out like the difference between one set of recordings and the other.
And our shiny faces.
Because the AC is kicked back on again, but it's
86 degrees.
It ain't
right
got
now.
there yet.
No.
Like we're trying.
No, it is 103, 104 degrees outside today, and the electricity went out.
Well, right now it's showing 98 outside and 86 inside. So we're in 86 degrees right now, and it's wonderful.
It feels good comparatively, which is so crazy. That's crazy.
So anyway,
where were we talking about?
As I was saying, it used to be the case that I missed the climate.
Okay.
The green trees, the tall green trees, not the short mesquite bushes, but the tall green trees, the green grass. I once asked my friend, Mr. Sonny, who I used to work with. He was the maintenance guy at that first church that I worked at, which is your home church.
Yes.
And I love Mr. Sonny. I got to hug his neck the other day, and that was wonderful. He has not changed one iota in like...
At all.
Well, the time I've known him, which is 22 years.
Yeah.
And probably...
since he was my junior high pastor. He hasn't changed.
He hasn't changed.
No.
And so I asked him one time, because we would go on little work trips in his truck. And he would try and educate this little British guy on how things were. And I asked him, I said, so is the grass ever green around here? Like, I mean, is there any time in the year where it's ever green? And he goes, yeah, it's green sometimes. I said, okay, so wintertime. No, it's dormant. I said, okay, so in the spring, well, we don't really have a spring here. Like, there's no spring in Texas. We pretty much just go from winter to summer. I said, okay, so in the summer, like maybe the first part of the summer, no, it's burned up. So I'm like, okay, so there's 2 states of grass in West Texas, dormant or burned up.
For the record, we're definitely in the burned up stage.
We're in the burned up stage, and it don't look no different than the dormant stage. So the climate, the trees, I'm a very sort of like, I love to go out for walks, which you can't do here without dying. Just the environment, wildlife, which here is just out to kill you. So there'd be that. Like I'd miss that. But now we live in Iowa, which is it's a little warmer and a little colder, but summer, winter, but very similar to what I remember in England.
Right. Yeah.
Especially living by the river. So a lot of those itches that I had have been scratched by the good state of Iowa.
Yeah.
So there's a few things, but in the main, we're good.
Yeah. What was it like? You talked a little bit about my family embracing you, but talk about what was it like in the beginning meeting my family?
Well, there's the normal thing of like their daughter bringing her new boyfriend home.
Yeah.
Except there's a whole bunch of baggage piled up on that.
True.
Now, your mama especially, but both your mom and dad have always been your biggest cheerleaders in everything that you've done in life.
Yes, they have.
And so if you said, this guy is okay, this guy is okay.
Yes. I actually asked my parents that a while back, like, why were you okay with me bringing this guy over from England?
It's kind of nuts.
And marrying him.
Yeah.
And they basically just said that they trusted me and
they were good with that.
They were good with it. So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy. I hope that when my kids come to me and are ready to get married or pop the question or whatever, that I have that much faith in them.
So, I mean, like in having grown kids now,
yes,
you start to realize what it was that they were being okay about.
Yes.
And so, hats off to them. I tried to make a good impression, but honestly, your dad probably didn't understand but about 1/5 of everything I said.
Yeah, and at that time too, he didn't have his hearing aids and everything, so he couldn't really hear you either. So it was like he couldn't hear you and he couldn't understand you.
He worked on the oil field, and so when you're working in that environment, especially at that time, you lose your hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, that just happens.
Yeah, and
So, and I'm British people speak very, very fast. Mm-hmm. We want to tell you everything that we can possibly tell you in as short a time as possible because we really don't want to take up much of your time because that's just rude, So we want to get it all out quickly so that we're not like, and then you can move on to the next thing because I don't want to take any more time.
And then you say sorry.
Like, and he's, I'm sorry. I'm just very sorry. And so I gradually learned how to slow down my speech to the point now where I'm probably a little too slow. Hence your suggestions of sleepy time podcasts. But at the time, your dad and I he loved me. I knew he loved me, and he loved me because you loved me.
Yeah.
But it was your mom was always just like totally like she adopted me.
Yes.
And so that was wonderful.
Yeah.
And your siblings did too.
Yeah, they did.
So. Yeah, it was just a good thing.
I know my cousins gave you a really hard time.
But I never took them seriously.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know. I think I want to say it was maybe Jason came up to me after our wedding and sort of apologized for the way they kind of gave me a hard time.
Oh, really? Aw.
And I'm like, no, dude, no, that was great. Because I mean, my laughter probably came across a little bit nervous, which probably was a little bit, but you know, they were all like, nah, you know, in Texas, we go out and hunt for our food, which means we have some firearms, and we're not afraid of you. You mess around with this girl, and you'll find out. Just you see. Mm-hmm. And so all that stuff was happening, and I just thought it was hilarious.
And now they just.
Well, I mean, I think they did. I think they liked me back then. And
I think they did too. I think they fell in that same category with my parents. Like, if I liked you, they liked you.
Yeah, they were good with that.
But they just wanted to give you a really hard time. So.
It was good.
Okay, so big question. Are you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Would you change anything about how everything played out?
Well, bottom line, we got married.
We did.
And we're still married.
Yes, we are.
So I couldn't have gone that far wrong. Things worked out the way they did. I think I would be worried if I went back and tried over again that I'd mess it up somehow. Even though I thought that every stage along the way, I thought I'd messed it up somehow. But, you know, no, I guess I would wish I wasn't so naive about everything and probably had done a little bit of research into what the heck I was getting myself into.
That you weren't moving into the Dukes of Hazzard set.
Well,
well, I mean, maybe you kind of did. I don't know.
I don't know. King of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
It's a little bit like that. I mean, every time I see that, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. It's like out the front of this house. But anyway, no, I go off track here. So, no, I really do. I thought everything was just very amusing.
Yeah.
And I could see how it looked from the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing in life. Like if you're if you're concerned about, like, you know, seeing things the wrong way, just observe yourself. Like I used to always want to see things the way that other people were seeing them. Yeah. And I could see like this little 154-pound British guy stuck in the middle of West Texas with the Keel family. Mm-hmm. And it was funny. I mean, it's just a funny setup to start with. Yeah. Like there should be a sitcom if sitcoms were even a thing anymore, which they're not. But this could be a sitcom. And no, I mean, I just went along for the ride, and I am totally cool with you know, being the subject of people's humor. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's good. It keeps me humble. Yes, I'm ever so humble.
Oh yes,
ever so humble.
Oh yes. Okay, so somehow we have to rein this in from King of the Hill to something really meaningful.
The King of Kings.
The King of Kings.
King of the Hill to King of Kings.
Okay, so.
This is life. It's real.
It's life. Yeah, that's just us. Welcome to our world.
God has a place for everyone. Mm-hmm. It may be that he will move you 50 miles or 5,000 miles. If you are in the middle of his will, he will prepare the place for you and let you know what you are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. It may be that he will move you to a different culture and a completely different environment. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you are exactly where you're meant to be, and he is just prompting you to action. It will be a challenge for you, but his glory will be made known in your life and in the lives of those he puts you in contact with.
In Exodus chapter 3, verses 14 through 17, God calls Moses to lead the Israelites to a promised land. God said, "I am who I am. You must tell them the one who is called I am has sent me to you. Tell the Israelites that I, the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have sent you to them. Go and gather the leaders of Israel together and tell them that I, the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to you. Tell them that I have come to them and have seen what the Egyptians are doing to them. I have decided that I will bring them out of Egypt where they are being treated cruelly and will take them to a rich and fertile land, the land of the Canaanites. God had a place for Moses and Israel to travel to. It was far away, a land they knew very little about.
Yep.
But the promise was that this land would be rich and fertile. That is a very good thing, a very good place to be.
Yes. The path to that land was going to take longer than they would have ever dreamed of. They had to travel through enemy territory, wilderness, and desert. There would be a lack of food and shelter, so it couldn't have been West Texas. But if they obeyed and continued to move, God would move ahead of them. He would appear as a pillar of smoke during the day and a pillar of fire at night.
We don't always know where the path will take us
Yeah.
or what challenges we face along the way. But God promises that he will lead us and guide us in a way that will be obvious.
Yes.
The path will sometimes be a challenge, but the end goal will be so worth it.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. What's in the works for the next episode?
Well, I think it'd be fun to do a flip side of the story.
Sure thing.
In our next episode,
Uh-huh.
we are going to discuss what it was like being a West Texas girl traveling to England.
Uh-huh.
I had the privilege of visiting you twice in England
You
before we
did.
got married.
Uh-huh.
And I think it'd be really fun to reminisce a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, sure would. I love your hat.
Thank you. I love yours too.
This reminds me of your South Padre Madre having a party mode.
Oh, yeah.
That should be interesting. I'll have to dig up some old photos.
Oh, my. If you know of someone who would enjoy this podcast, please point them our direction. Visit us at Beautiful View Podcast on Facebook or Instagram. Share our posts or share the link to our podcast. Also, you can watch a video recording of our most recent podcast on YouTube. The link is also in our show notes.
Yes, ma'am. Also, we would really appreciate it if you would follow, subscribe to, or leave a review for us on either YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform. These things are completely free for you to do, but really helps new people find the Beautiful View podcast.
Shout out to the Hopeful Few for the catchy theme song on our podcast.
Yeah.
You can check out more of their music on Spotify or Apple Music, and the link to that is also in our show notes.
Uh-huh. If you have questions you would like us to answer or suggestions for things you would like us to talk about in our future podcasts, email us at beautifulviewpod@gmail.com.
And just a reminder, please consider joining our Beautiful View Patreon.
Uh-huh.
This helps us keep those episodes coming and cover our costs.
Sure does.
Memberships are only $5 a month. Again, the link is in our show notes, and you can also find those links on our social media accounts.
We hope you have a great day, and remember to always keep an eye open for opportunities in life to see a beautiful view.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
I think that needs a high five.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. Oh, I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going to. And I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you. Yeah, I'd go